Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Forgotten Stream. This is a Division 1 match of League Europe Reborn 1, and this is round 3. The first time I've got to stream a Division 1 match in this league. And well, am I excited to actually see what these guys are like in action. We have cream of the crop, the best of the best teams gathered here. Machine drivers, two Novus trackers, Airven, and Insanity, of course. I mean, you just look at the lineups. And you are, well, you've got to be impressed just reading the names. I think the match is supposed to start with Desert, I'm not quite sure of the order. I'm most excited for Rally. Just to see the battle between the likes of Sander, Arrow, Hip, Black Cat, Raw. That's gonna be insane. There is also Cybermix, although I haven't seen him and Daddy too much. Or is it Rally first? It actually looks like Rally is going to be the first map tonight. And isn't that exciting? So, what do we have on the server? Not too many people from Insanity. Hawk, Hip, Cookin, Maxi currently disconnected, but he'll probably join for Desert at least, maybe Snow. For TNT there's Vet, Garfovsky, Black Cat, Norman, Passy. Yes, we are indeed starting with Rally. There's Aru, Roa, Sander, Rezenrad, 4 machine drivers. And Lance, Lolo, Tsona, Oxide, Cybermix. For Airven. The plugin is live. Let's see who is going to drive. So far there are 15 players actually driving. Obviously the plugin isn't going to allow that. I would imagine Hawk, Hip and Cookin are going to drive for Insanity. That Garfovsky and Black Cat would be the lineup for TNT. Aruro, Sander for MD. I guess Oxide, Tsona, Lolomax. Probably for Airven, although not sure. Quite a bit more drivers than allowed. However, we do know that during an actual round, if more than 3 players start for a team, only the first 3 to cross the first checkpoint are going to actually race. And Lance retires, causes a false start. Somehow it wasn't even Norman. What a surprise. Alrighty then, round 1. And we do have 12 drivers: Tona, Hip, Aru, Rova, Sander, Black Cat, Gafowski, Vet, Kuken, Hawk, Lolomax, Oxide. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody. And we have Hip, Aru, the Sonic, Black Cat, Tona, Tona, and I think Hip both clipped on the transition to the wooden section. Aru is running away into the distance. Roa was second but made a brief mistake. Sand and Black Cat caught up. Slightly wider line there by Roa. I wonder if it's beneficial. So far it looks like a machine driver's show. Sander with a wall bang at the exit. Aru still first. Black Cat not quite able to overtake Sander for second. Roa and Vet. And quite a dominant start from machine drivers. Let's see if they're going to be able to keep it up. And whether or not Black Cat and Hip can start doing more damage. They are definitely capable of it. So it is round 2. Hip with a good start. Mixing it up. Hip just crashes into the chains suspending the bridge. And stops dead. So it is Aru from Black Cat, Sander and Roa. And they are followed by Hawk, I believe. Who actually built the map. I haven't presented the map. Sander with a mistake, dropping behind Hawk. And Black Cat currently in first position. But Aru will be attacking. Tona getting ahead of Hawk. Tona and Hawk both doing the wall bang. And Black Cat drives what would have been a Z85. He already has a Z84. Takes first, followed by a trio of MD drivers. And then Hawk. So yes, the map is called Hills, and it was built by Hawk from Insanity, the Portuguese driver. Round 3. Hawk with a tentative start. Roa absolutely sending it. Going minus, well, 0.23 down on the world record. Well, I mean, the rounds top 1 at the very least, and now Black Cat has got that honor to himself. Roa misjudged his line, clipped some grass and slowed down. It is Black Cat from Hip, followed by Sand and Aru, and then Vet, Tona and Lolamax. They're going like a train, with very few gaps. Tona, not the greatest wall bang. Black Cat, Hip fighting for the lead. Hip takes first, Black Cat second, followed by Aru and Sander and Lolamax. Roa only 10th after his mistake. And you've got to admire the level. The distance between the first and last position was 220, well, the gap was 223. Sander and Tona both going a bit wide onto the grass. In the early turns, Roa with a great start with Hip, Aru, and its side pack of Kuken, Hawk, Sander, Vet and Black Cat. Black Cat not a great start this time round. Let's see, the leading trio is Hip, Roa and Aru. All three of them going neck and neck. Roa slightly too wide. So we have a more or less certain order at the front. Well, as I say, that hip catches up. And Arrow made a small mistake, dropped down to third. Sander overtakes Hawk, and Roa manages to get ahead of Hip, followed by Arrow and Sander and Hawk. And Airven drivers take the bottom 3 positions. I do wonder, why is Cybermix not driving? It is rally after all. Round 5. MD with a healthy lead over TnT actually, and then Insanity, and then Airven. This is round 5. Black Cat with a good start, fighting Sander for the lead. Sander gets ahead. Roa gets a bit too greedy with that cut. And Sona we saw not getting the best wall bang compared to others at the very least. It's really tight at the top this time between BC and Sander, 2 joystick drivers. Followed by Garfowski and Ved. Garfowski also a joystick driver. But then there's Arrow coming with his Sonic skin. Arrow with gamepad. And Sander not able to overcome Black Cat's resistance. They're followed by Arrow, Garfowski, Ved. If we look at the individual points, are they correct? Yes, they are correct. Arrow is leading from BC, Sander and Roa. And Vet. And actually only 2 joystick drivers in the top 5. Remarkable. The gamepads are really competitive. Ooh, was that Black Cat clipping the chain? Yes, it was Black Cat. He disappears from this round. It's a great start by Roa and Hip, and there's a pack of Sander, Vet and Arrow chasing them. This looks like another MD domination. Oh, I say another. I don't think they dominated last week. Roa and Hip first and second, but it is really close. Can Hip launch a successful attack? Arrow clips the wood at the end, loses a bunch of positions, and Roa drives a lead time of 1:03.37. Roa, Hip, Sander, Vet, Hawk, Arrow 7th. Actually, there's not a whole lot of joystick drivers. Sander, Black Cat, Garfowski and Lolomax. And only 1 wheel with Oxide. The rest are gamepads. Round 7. I think Oxide made a mistake somewhere in the beginning. Black Cat, Hip and Roa are fighting for the lead. Arrow is joining them. There's Toner right on their tail. Hip is not giving up. Sander 0.6 down. Black Cat going too wide. Arrow also drops down behind Toner and Vet. Hip with a sizable gap to Roa. And there's Vet, Toner, different lines there. Vet, it's really getting close. Arrow with the attack, but he can't do anything about Vet. Hip finishes first, but only 500th ahead of Roa. Good times on the board, but even Oxide, 276. I wonder if he crashed or not, but that is a high level regardless. Round 8. Hawk with a I think. I thought it was Hawk, I think it was probably someone else. They insignificant slide, Black Cat, Cookin and Hip among the leaders, but there's ooh, both Hip and Cookin clip the walls of the castle. And I imagine they stop dead. However, they are still ahead of Tsona and Lolomax. Black Cat out in front from Aru. There's Sander appearing in view. And Black Cat makes a mistake. Loses an enormous amount of speed. So it is Aru from Sander from Vet. There's Hawk and Raw behind them. The MD drivers finish with an identical time. Fast decides that it is Sander who deserves P1 from Aru, then Hawk and Roa. With only 2 rounds to go, can we say that it is an insurmountable lead for MD? With Aru, Sander and Roa occupying the top 3 positions at the moment? I would say it probably is. Penultimate round, the first map. Black Cat, Sander, Hip, Vet and Hawk fighting at the front. Roa must have had a crash or something. Ooh, Black Cat, Aru! No, Black Cat actually survives. Aru, I think, has got the worst of it with an edge clip. Let's switch to Hip's POV. He is following Sander and Black Cat. The most successful. Ooh, well, that will not do for Black Cat. He's gone way off the track. Sander bursts from Hip. Can Hip do anything? No, he can't. 103.42 from Sander. Cooking at Vet. Probably both crashing at the end and respawning. That looked quite ridiculous. Good round from Insanity. But CMC retain their top 3 positions. Last round. Hello Demigod drivers, we are going to have a desert and snow after this map. This is League Europe Reborn and it's all about TMO environments. So it is Hip from Roa, Aru, Black Cat, Tsona. Tsona crashes. It's nice to see Lolomax at the front. And Hip goes over the grass and out of contention for this round win. Roa a bit too wide, Gafovsky catching up. Ooh, Lolomax crashes. Aru running away. Roa, Black Cat, Gafovsky, TnT on the attack. Black Cat getting closer, but he can't get close enough. Aru and Roa take first and second in this round from Black Cat, Vet and Gafovsky. A triplet of TnT drivers stand in 8th. And in individual points it is Aru from Sander, from Roa, Black Cat, Vet, Hip, Hawk, Gafovsky. What can I say? An impressive display from machine drivers, followed by TnT, Insanity and Airven. Quite a bit crashy. Quite a bit crashier than I expected from Insanity. And I guess MD drivers were the most trained ones here. But who knows for certain. Map 2. Thanks for the memories by Tim. If we are to perform some sort of meaningful analysis, who can we expect to be good? On snow, I would say just about anyone present. Because in Airven we have a snow deity Lolomax with a trustful sidekick that is Sib. And there's also Oxide and others. Well, I say others. Do they even have... Oh, well, Toner, of course. How can I forget Toner? He's in spec, so he'll probably not play. There's Insanity, with their insane performance on Snow from week 1. So they're definitely capable guys. There's TnT with Gafovsky, Black Cat, Norman. Passy. Forgetting about Passy. Are they right there at the top in terms of skill? Yes, they are. Will they perform at that level? I'm not so certain. Because they're probably not that trained. And there's MD. I don't know what their quality was like. I see Roa, Sander and Arrow and Daddy. But Sander is in spec, so he will probably not drive. That will be Arrow, Rad and Roa. It's hard to make anything from Daddy alone, so let's see what this map is going to bring. I would expect Insanity and MD probably to be the strongest teams. But I can't know for sure. So in Daddy from D1 we have Roa, Cookin, Sander who won't drive, Hawk, Hip, Arrow, Sablolo. Well, I guess Airven are gonna do better. Just because there's Lolomax. And this is Snow. Let's see. It's hard to bet, and I haven't seen either of the first 2 matches. Hello. So, what are your bets, chat? Can Insanity take it? Or will machine drivers do it? Or is it going to be TnT or Airven? Well, I see Sib and Lola are driving pretty confidently in warm-up. They're not too high in Daddy, but they don't need to be. And unofficial warm-up is over. One more formal warm-up. And we'll be going live. I'm actually curious to see how Rad is going to stack up against D1. Rad, who until a couple of years ago was a keyboard player, but sometime in middle 2020 he switched to joystick and has progressed quite a bit since then. But I guess he hasn't quite caught up with the D1 guys, and they are pretty insane. And off we go. And no false starts. What is this? Ooh, somebody crashed early on. It was Norman by the looks of it. Ooh, somebody else crashed there, didn't quite catch that. Arrow made a mistake and dropped down, and Radin's somewhere behind at the moment. Must have been hip with the crash. So it is Roa from Cookin. The whole lot of Airven and Hawk. Airvens are doing pretty well. Hip is complaining about his gamepad disconnecting. Ooh, Sib. He was ahead, but clipped the finish, I think. Oxide takes the round win ahead of Roa, Lola, Cookin, Cybermix. The Airven are going strong. And he hasn't actually finished the round. And what is Sib's car skin? I wonder. The wireless gamepads. And their batteries. Round 2. Hip is back and off to a good start. Alongside Arrow, Roa, Cookin, Sib, and the Evans. Ooh, Oxide crashed in the tunnel. Oh, double crash there. Roll. Whoever that was, I couldn't quite catch that. Too many things to focus on. Roa, ahead of Hip, Lolo, and Sib. Do wonder, can Airven take the map? Aro must have had a crash. He's down to 10. But Cookin has had the biggest crash of the lot. Roa takes first with a huge gap to Hip, Hawk, Lolo, and Sib. Insanity to take the round ahead of MD. What side with Airven? And it is Airven 50, MD 40, Insanity 38. The Airvens are going strong indeed. Third round, Cookin, Roa, Arrow, and Hip. Sib, Oxide, and Lolomax. All in the leading group, and it is Hip and Roa. Currently fighting for the lead. Somebody crashed probably by the sound of it. Sib over 2 seconds down. Lolomax getting into the lead. Very tight. Ooh, Cookin, huge crash at the tunnel exit. That's just him out of the round. Ooh, Lolomax. What an unfortunate late crash. Right in front of the finish. From contesting first position to finishing 9th. Roa, Hawk, Aru, Oxide, Hip. And MD actually overtake Airven with that. 4th round. Somebody crashed, probably Hip. Yes, it was Hip. Aru, Sib, and Cookin out in front. Hawk and Gafolski catching up. Aru still in first position. The Insanity guys trying to reel him in without much success so far. One turn, one drop, Aru going for the right finish, and actually finishes down on both Cookin and Hawk because of it. He is followed by Lolo and Garth. And Insanity to take this round. And it's getting closer. 89 MD, 85 Airven, 83 Insanity. Round 5. Cookin and Roa with a great start. There's also Hip, Sib, Arrow, and Oxy. Some lags are making things confusing. Fortunately, we don't have anything like old school vintage Vincent or Dan. Cookin out in front from Hip, Roa, Arrow, and Sib. Arrow dropping down a little. And the Insanity duo of Cookin and Hip is going really strong. Roa, however, is trying his best to separate them. He is successful. Finishes second, followed by Hip, Sip, and Arrow. Great fight at the front. And what do I see? Lolamax 5 seconds down on the leader. Which means Lolamax crashed. Not something you see every day. 6th round. Only 1 point separating Machine Drivers and Insanity. Airven deflated slightly after their electric start. Hip and Cookin, however, are going really strong. Ooh, as I say that, Cookin crashes. Rowa Arrow gets into podium positions, but the Airven guys have other opinions on that. Ooh, very tight line there. Can he hold on? He can. He wins the round ahead of Hip, followed by Lolo, Oxy, and Arrow. What a great battle at the front. And I see that not only Cookin but also Hawk crashed in the previous round. So it is Airven back ahead of Insanity. And TnT are trading pretty bad. Ooh, who was that? Was that Hip flying? He passive crashed and Hip flew out of the tube. That looked pretty ridiculous. Roa out in front from Cookin, Lolamax, Arrow. There's Sib and Hawk fighting with Arrow. And Roa, as ever, trying his best to reel the Insanities in. Let's switch to Lolamax, the legend. Roa once again going tight, really close, 400th ahead of Cookin, both in 57s. Really high level. Machine Drivers 160, Airven 148, Insanity 146. 3 rounds to go, still all to play for. Cookin, Hip, Rowa, Arrow, Oxide. These are the fast starters of this round. Let's give Oxy some camera time. I heard a crash. It was probably of not particular significance. Arrow messing this section up. Drops out of contention. Hip from Roa. Sib and Cookin. So it is a recurring story of Insanities and Roa fighting for the lead. Once again, Roa with a 57 ahead of Cookin, Sib, and the whole lot of Airven. Arrow and Rad on the 10th and 11th. Penultimate round. Nothing is decided yet, but Arrow has crashed right at the start. Saw another crash in the tunnel, but I didn't see who that was. Let's wait for another checkpoint. I still can't tell. Hip is currently leading from Sib, Lolo, Hawk and Roa. Roa has been dominant on this map so far. In personal points, he is way ahead of everybody else. But in this round, he only manages 4th, behind Hip, Sib and Lolo, and ahead of Oxy. Red and Arrow finish in last 2 positions in this round. And it is Airven 201 ahead of Insanity, ahead of MD, and it's the last round. Oh, what a roller coaster. Hip with a fantastic start, leading from Roa, Kuken and Arrow. Let's give Arrow a bit of exposure. Hip, Roa, Sib, Kuken and Oxy. That wiggle from Roa. I thought things were not going to plan. They were definitely not going to plan for Arrow. But I saw somebody crash. Let's see, can Roa get ahead of... Oh no, he can't. He will crash into this bit between the rods. Only 58.62, and it looks like MD after all that will only get 3rd on this map. But what a heroic performance by Roa. Absolutely insane. Not enough, however. Airven take 1st, Insanity 2nd, MD 3rd, TnT last. But what a thriller that was. I really like this. Extremely high level. Extremely close. The last map we will have Maricopa by Zuzilla, also known as Zeus and Nilstone. But speaking of cryptic mapper names, my favorite one was probably Dilze, which was Dangle, Nilstone and Azapeng. You can find the map on TMX. I don't remember what the map was about. I think it was some hardcore tech bay, but I don't quite remember. And does it look like the MD lineup will be JJ, Roa and Rez? In all likelihood, yes. I'm actually surprised there's no Maxi on the server. It's still Hawk, Hip and Cookin for Insanity, Guff, Passy and Black Cat for Desert. This is probably going to be a bit more interesting from TnT, because Black Cat is really good on Desert. For MD, it's definitely gonna be JJ, Rova and Rez. And Airvens are currently discussing their lineup, with Lolomax and Tona are definitely driving. And they have second and third times in Daddy. So I imagine they will be able to show some impressive performance. So, judging by the lineups and Daddy, I would say Airven are gonna take this one as well. And Hawk going really strong with a 100.11 in warm-up. So looks like Bassi isn't going to be playing. I mean Maxi. What am I talking about? Which is weird. Because in my opinion he is a massive desert specialist. Does it look like Roa is going to drive all 3 maps? He's driven his personal best. And we are finally going live after another round of warm-up. A nice stance there from Hawk. I wonder how much stance action we're going to see in the actual match. wonder what kind of times they did. Because it looked like a really strong round from Rez. Unfortunately, when it's the game's warm-up, the times are not saved. And not displayed either. I hope that Rez can perform at that level in the match as well. And Norman with a false start. Name a more iconic duo. Okay, we are finally going live. It is a strong start from Passy and the Airvens, Tsona and Lolo. And there is Roa fighting with them as well. So it is Lolomax, Tsona and Oxide after all. And Lolo makes a mistake. Very uncharacteristic. Passy out in front from Tsona and Roa, and Passy makes a mistake. Roa absolutely sending it. And he just loses it in the last turn. Tsona, Black Cat, Roa, Passy, Hip. And with a start like that, it looks like TnT are going to be actually fighting for it, which is good to see. Second round. It is once again Passy out in front from Kuken and Lolomax. Ooh, Passy and Roa both make mistakes. So it is Hawk, Lolo, Kuken and Black Cat from Roa. Black Cat with an interesting line there. He come out better than the rest? Not quite, but it's interesting that the track allows for very different lines. Whatever Roa was doing there. Hawk out in front from Lolo and Black Cat. Hawk takes first ahead of Lolo, Black Cat, Kuken and Roa. And MD are currently last and TnT are first. Round 3. Roa out in front from Passy. Ooh, Passy with a crash in the hairpin. Roa makes a mistake. It is Kuken now from Tsona, Hawk and Lolomax. Hawk really confident in this track, and he has, if not the world record, at least top 1 in rounds. Hawk out in front from Tsona and Black Cat. Tsona sliding out. Black Cat gets closer, but not close enough. Kuken, Lolo, Tsona, Oxy. Passy way down in last position. MD are falling behind. It's 65, 64, 61. for Insanity, TnT and Airven respectively, and MD at 44. Round 4. Roa, Sona and Hawk. Black Cat makes a mistake and slides. Hawk from Lola, Roa and Garfield. Hawk is just toying with it, with his opponents, and Roa had a wall clip. Wonder how much time he lost. Probably about a second or so. He's 7th, JJ and Rez in the last 2 positions. Hawk is just untouchable. Header, and he drives a 1002, which is pretty insane. Ahead of Lolo, Garfield, Kuken and Oxy. A really close fight between TnT, Insanity and Airven. And Rover got disconnected. Yeah, it looks like MD are going to take last on this map. Individually, it is very tight at the top. Rez sliding at the beginning, Roll with a small mistake as well. Kuken out in front from Evans. Gafowski makes a mistake. Kuken from Black Cat. Sona, Lola and Hawk. And Lola crashes. That is interesting. Black Cat gets ahead of Kuken. So many boosters at the turns. Always tricky on desert because you have to keep all 4 wheels on the ground. Kuken not quite getting hold of the wobbles, but he does hold on to second. Black Cat, however, with a 100.26, and Roa finishes last. Insanity pulling away, MD sinking to the bottom. Round 6 is Roll with a good start, and Zonas just slides into the hairpin. And I missed whatever happened to Roa after misclicking. And I see that it is Black Cat from Lola, Bassi, Kuken and Oxide. Haven't seen Bassi for a while, for quite a few rounds. Not among the leaders at any rate. Yeah, he's 9th in personal points. Kuken was just getting out ahead. And then he lost everything. Lolomax, Hawk, Bassi, Roa, Hip. Insanity still pulling away. Even despite those mishaps, Kuken sliding at the start. Bassi, Sona, Hawk, Roa and Lolomax Tsona once again slides into the hairpin. And I think Roa slid out as well. Lolomax, small crash. Passy out in front from Hip and Lolomax. There's Hawk rocketing past Lolo. No changes of position so far, everybody managing this transition pretty well. Will there be any casualties of the last turn? Not among the top 4. That is Passy from Hawk, Lolo, Hip and JJ. At this point, Insanity look pretty much untouchable. Somebody with a yellow car crashed. And it was Oxy. He's completely out of this round. Ooh, I saw a CMC car crash. And it is Hawk from Tsona, Gafowski and Lolomax. The CMC car must have been JJ. Hawk had a small mistake, allowed Tsona to catch up. Lola and Gafowski on their tail. Hawk's wobbles look dangerous, but he held on just right. We have Tsona from Hawk, Lolomax, Gafowski and Rez in P5. Penultimate round of the last map. Hawk, Roa, Passy, Lolo and Tsona. And I think I saw Roa either sliding. Oh, Lolo crashed. Let's see how Oxy is doing. Pretty good at the moment. Just behind Hawk, Black Cat, Passy, Cookin and Hip. Hawk, the comfortable gap over Black Cat, tries a 59. Ahead of Black Cat, Passy, Tsona and Hip. It is pretty insane. And with just one round to go, I don't think either TnT or Airven are going to touch Insanity. Especially not with Tsona crashing in the hairpin again. Ooh, Roa had such a healthy gap at the front, but just turned into the hairpin itself. Hawk from Black Cat, Lola, Roa and JJ. Black Cat with the attack gets real close. Not close enough. Takes second, a 10th down. And Insanity take the map with 230 points ahead of TnT, Airven and MD. Can I see the individual points? No, I cannot. Anyways, that is it from me for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Just in case, follow me on Twitch, because you never know what's gonna happen to YouTube tomorrow in Russia. And goodbye, see you next time.